Night of the assault. By the time Thomas reached his 7th week in the front trench, he had seen more death than he ever imagined possible. Yet something inside him had changed. He no longer jumped at every distant explosion. He no longer flinched at the metallic smell of blood carried on the wind. The soldier he had been when he arrived had vanished, buried somewhere beneath the mud and fear. What remained was someone harder, someone shaped by the brutal rhythm of trench warfare. On a cold morning thick with fog, an officer walked along the trench line, dropping sealed envelopes at every platoon commander's feet. Briggs tore his open and read silently. A long sigh left his lips. "It's an assault order," he said quietly. Tonight, Thomas felt his stomach tighten. Assault meant climbing out of the trench, crossing no man's land under fire, and hoping to reach the enemy line alive. It was the worst fate any soldier feared. "They say it's a small push," Briggs added. "Take a forward trench of theirs. Hold it till dawn." Small push. Thomas had learned quickly that in military language, those words often meant anything but small. The hours leading up to the attack felt stretched and distorted. Soldiers wrote quick letters home, some with shaking hands, others with grim resolve. One man carved initials into the wooden trench wall, leaving behind a mark he hoped would outlive him. The chaplain walked silently through the ranks, offering prayers that sounded too soft for the chaos around them. As night fell, the artillery behind them opened fire. Thousands of shells screamed overhead, crashing into the enemy lines. The ground trembled. Sparks flew into the sky like dying stars. Thomas clutched his rifle, feeling the vibrations run through his bones. Briggs tapped his shoulder. "When the whistle blows, you run. Don't stop. Don't look back." Thomas nodded, though every instinct in his body begged him not to go over the top. The whistle blew. The world exploded into movement. Thomas climbed the ladder, boots slipping on the muddy rungs, and forced himself into the open air. No man's land stretched before him like a graveyard of shattered dreams. Machine guns instantly roared from the enemy line, spraying bullets that kicked dirt into the air. Men fell left and right, collapsing into the mud with sickening thuds. Thomas sprinted forward, crouched low. The air smelled of smoke and death. A shell burst nearby, throwing him backward. His ears rang, his vision blurred, but instinct pulled him to his feet. He ran again. The enemy trench loomed closer now, a jagged line of dark earth and fire. Briggs shouted somewhere behind him, "Keep moving." Thomas leapt into a shell crater for cover, panting. 2 other soldiers huddled inside, one bleeding heavily from the leg. "Help him," the uninjured one begged. Thomas hesitated. If he stayed, he might die. If he ran, he might survive. But the cries of the wounded man cut through the thunder of the battlefield. Thomas grabbed the soldier's arm and heaved him upward, helping him limp toward the enemy line. Bullets zipped past them. The sky glowed orange with blasts. The earth felt alive beneath their feet, shaking with every explosion. They reached the enemy trench moments after the first wave of their comrades had jumped inside. Shouts, screams, and gunfire echoed along the tunnel-like corridor. Soldiers fought in brutal close quarters, bayonets, rifles, fists, anything they could use. Thomas lowered the wounded man gently behind a sandbag and joined the fight. A German soldier lunged toward him. Thomas fired without thinking. The man fell. Thomas stared at him, breath shaking, realizing he had taken another life. He felt no triumph, only numbness. Briggs appeared, grabbing his shoulder. "We hold this trench till dawn." Hours passed like slow, merciless minutes. The enemy launched counterattacks, trying to reclaim the lost ground. The trench became a storm of smoke, shouting, and flickering gunfire. Thomas fought until his arms ached and his uniform soaked with mud, sweat, and fear. Just before dawn, the firing finally slowed. The sky turned pale gray. Thomas sat against the trench wall, hands trembling. Around him, the ground was littered with bodies, friends and enemies alike. Briggs limped over and collapsed beside him. "You made it," he said quietly. "First assault's always the worst." Thomas didn't answer. He stared at the rising sun, its faint light cut through the haze, revealing the devastation around them. Yet within that destruction, something stirred, a small flame of hope, fragile but present. Maybe survival wasn't just about living through the night. Maybe it was about holding on to whatever humanity remained inside the trench. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the battlefield, Thomas realized something profound. The trench had taken almost everything from him, fear, innocence, peace, but it had also given him a strange, unbreakable bond with the men who fought beside him. In the midst of unimaginable horror, they had found a way to keep moving, keep fighting, keep living. And sometimes, that was enough.